is my life now. There is only one life. This life is God's life. This life is perfect. This life. So we've spent this month so far using Pam Grout's book, Think and Grow Rich, to try to amplify our joy quotient just a little bit. And I didn't talk about it last week because, I understand Reverend Scott just totally brought Father's Day to us last week, so I want to thank you for that. And I also want to thank you for a morning to sleep. But I did send along the play shop assignment sheet for last week, so I hope some of you are still playing along with that. Not a lot of hands go. Come on, really? Oh. So some interesting things. I've been hearing some interesting stories actually about this, and Lonnie gave me permission to share one. She, Lonnie dances a lot. She tap dances and does some ballet and things, but she mostly tap dances several times a week. And so she decided that she wanted to put a tap floor into one of her rooms in her basement. And it was turning out to be sort of a complicated project around some door and needing some desk to be moved. I don't know, just stuff. And she said that, you can't just put a regular wood floor in to tap dance on because it dents it, and if you like your joints, you need flooring that has some cushion in it. Lonnie likes her joints. So she researched all these floors and was trying to figure all this out, and she'd found one that, she could get it delivered to the driveway, but then somebody was going to have to come and take care of all that, and then she talked to the guy who did this floor, and they didn't really have the right floor, but, and all of it was coming up to be a good $2,000 more than she had planned to spend. Now, and she got in that, it was one of those moments of, well, I could do this, but you get in that space in that question of, is this really how I want to spend that much more? And then she got into the maybe-ishes. Maybe-ish is a word. Maybe-ish it's the right thing. Maybe-ish I shouldn't spend this much money. Maybe-ish it's not time. Maybe. And she does a lot of dancing, and she really wanted to she has a little square that she practices on at home, but she really wanted this floor. So she said she sat down to do her daily spiritual practice. And she picked up the assignment sheet for the day, and the assignment for that day was to ask for help. And so she did. She sat there doing her prayer work. She did her meditation. She said, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I know that this floor is in my experience. And she told Reverend Jenny and I, she said she finished her meditation. She got up. She did not take 2 steps from that chair when the phone rang, and it was the flooring guy from this company that did this floor here in Loveland. And he found the right thing for, guess how much less? $2,000 less. Right. So there's that. And then there's all these other weird things. Anyone bump up against your happiness ceiling this week? Nobody has a happiness ceiling? Like I'm dropping the phrase. The pod will tell me. Your upper limit problem. Thank you very much. Anyone else run into their upper limit problem? It was a very interesting week for me. The thing about having this upward joy quotient is not that we never experience anything else. It's that we lift our trajectory and lift our norm possibly a little bit. And so I had these moments this week. Oh, love, baby. I had a couple of these moments this week where I found myself in anger, sadness, feeling helpless about how to make the world a better place and some things that were going on. I found myself arguing on Facebook. About taking children from their parents and putting them in cages. And about cake. And I know And I was feeling that like combination of hopeless and sad in the midst of also giving up caffeine and sugar at the same time. Right, which I think the core council heard a little bit before so Chuck brought me this today. Lord, give me coffee to change the things I can and wine to accept the things I can't. So here's what I know right now. Love wins, and so does caffeine. Jenny gave me my caffeine back. In the midst of that, like I was keeping up, we do our daily, what are we grateful for, as we were in those moments, and so we're in the grateful moments and in the bitchy moments and in the grateful moments and in the bitchy moments, and here's the thing, I want to be really clear again, this is not about politics, this was about babies, and the sentence, taking babies from their parents and putting them in cages, which is not a sentence I would imagine that I would ever say out loud or internally. And if we teach oneness and connection, and we teach oneness and connection and oneness and connection, and that is true, and I believe it is, then there is no such thing as other people's children. And we don't get to ignore it. And I can tell you from firsthand experience in my life what happens. I'm not going to tell you those stories today because that's just not the place, but I can tell you what happens when people think it's other people's kids and they ignore what's in front of them. Ernest Holmes wrote, "The thought of God must be the cause of all that really exists. And as there are many existing things, there must be many thoughts in the mind of the infinite. This is logical to suppose, for an infinite mind would necessarily conceive an infinite variety of ideas. Hence the world of multiplicity or many things. Hence the world of many things. But the world of multiplicity does not contradict the world of unity, for the many live in the one." The many live in the one. Now the thing about trying to be spiritually conscious is that you get these beautiful reminders to look at your own self and your own stuff and what you're bringing to the table, and the question became for me in the stepping back from the why am I doing this arguing thing, the question is where am I coming from, and does it help or detract from any situation, or does it help or detract the energetic field of this planet and this country or the world? And so I was sitting with all that, and people emailing me and telling me that I must address this situation, and finding myself having these stupid arguments. And what came up was this, I'm going to call it my tough love idea of the week, my tough love download. And it was for me, not for, well, now you get to have it too, because I like to share those things. My email tagline says, holding the course of love. Holding the course of love. And for me, it is this consistent reminder, even every time I send an email from my work email, which I do not use, to post things on Facebook, but to be up here in the place of love, what am I doing? It asks me the question, what am I doing to always be up here? And the tough idea, the one that hit me over the head this week, of course, was a question, because you know me, I'm full of questions. What energy am I holding towards the people I disagree with, towards the politicians I disagree with, towards the people I am arguing with? What energy am I holding? And it started with this so as I was meditating on this, because I realized that this was a message for me, and it was not about them and what I'm bringing to them, because really they weren't listening to me anyway. I had this visual of like our energy body, this sort of circular energy body thing, and so we've talked about this before, like things like hatred, racism, homophobia, which are all just hatred. They're all that energy sucking, those energy sucking energies. They kind of live in the mud. And then, the little higher things like depression and sadness and then anger. And I find anger to be an interesting thing. Anger is a place I don't want to live, but anger definitely feels better than depression and sadness. And sometimes anger brings us to an awareness that action is required. It wakes us up. It just depends on whether we get outwardly focused with our anger or if we get into the inward question of why am I really angry. Anger can be an amazing catapult if we use it correctly. And then tolerance comes in. And tolerance for me lives somewhere around anger. Tolerance says, yes, I know you exist, but I don't really like it, but I'm going to put up with it because I have to. Tolerance is for people we don't really accept, but we're going to put up with. So tolerance, sympathy, anger, all that sort of lives in this weird space. Acceptance, I think, lives with empathy. And inclusion and equality live up here with compassion and kindness. And love, I think, lives up here someplace where our heads can't mess with it. It does. It just lives someplace up here where our heads can't mess with it. And I want to say something about racism and homophobia and all those things because of the cake argument, really. I probably don't even need to say this here, but I'm going to say it anyway. The thing about those things is that this is 2018. And if you choose to be a person who expresses racism and homophobia and those things, you are just being willfully ignorant at this point, and you need to rise up. That's all there is to it. There's no more... Like somebody was trying to convince me that the cake baker is a nice guy. And I'm like, okay, and yet. I don't sit across the table. I sit across the table from a lot of nice people. Homophobics don't sit at my table. Racists don't sit at my table. I'm not having them at my table. I'm just not. I have no room for that. My friend, Reverend David Alexander, wrote, contrary to popular belief, being spiritual is not about being calm, still, and unmoved in troubled times. In fact, a state of holy discontent can birth the most creative, powerful, and transformative spiritual energy in the world. Which continued to transform this conversation that was happening into my head from one of how do I hold the course of love for these people that I disagree with so strongly right now, because, as I've said, clearly there's no room for bigotry in my life. That's true. But if I'm thinking about those people as those people with a lot of other adjectives, then I am separating in my own way. I am creating separation, participating in a similar problem. And I have created a new place of separation, one I call stupid people. And that's my word. You probably have another one. We all have them, right? But we have the same disregard, hatred, etc. that lives down here. Maybe not hatred, dislike, discomfort, whatever it is. But it's down here someplace. And we're holding it for someone else. Now, this does not mean that I have to have these people at my table. Because this is about me and the energy that I'm bringing to the world and the energy that I'm lending to the world. So hang with me on this. I'm not saying we accept it for even one moment. That would pretty much stand counter to everything I stand for. But the deeper question became about the energy I hold when I think, do, and act, how I choose to change those things. When I make choices to do things that I feel will make changes in those things, am I doing it out of this energy down here of dislike for the other, or am I doing it holding the course of love as our ultimate reality goal, something, as where I believe that we are going to head. And we are headed, we're better than we used to be. The thing that really struck me in this is that we cannot live in two energetic states at the same time. We cannot. If I'm holding that energy of dislike, disgust, whatever it is, then my whole being, my body, my soul, my mind, my life energy shifts to there. I cannot have hatred and hold love at the same moment. It's just not possible. So we bounce back and forth because we get aware, we bounce back up, we get aware, we fall, we get back up, we fall, we get back up, we fall, we get back up. But we cannot, in the same moment, live in two energetic places. So what are we choosing? What are we choosing? So where do we start? And it's just, so what popped into my mind was a Rube Goldberg machine. Anybody know what those are? Okay, well, you're going to see one. Because I'm such a dork that I actually had my favorite Rube Goldberg video already before I started this talk for a long time. So check this out. Watch the red truck. That's cute, isn't it? I love them. They do some great videos. So what are you carrying in your red truck? The start of the machine is the red truck. our one action, the thing that we have been focusing on this month, is creating more joy. It's not about being a frivolous exercise and happy. It's about creating the kind of sustained joy and sustainable energy of love that becomes our red truck. And everything flows out of that. Imagine that everything and everyone in your day is the first domino, and you're the red truck. You're the red truck, and your energy creates, if you have 10 interactions, 20 interactions with people, you create 20 Rube Goldberg machines. What are you creating? What do you create with that first contact and the first domino that falls? Because it does. That's who we are. It's who you are. We bump against people who are a match for us. Now, here's the other thing that really struck me in this whole thing is if I'm living here, I'm trying to live here, I'm living in here, I'm attracting people who are living in that space. I'm attracting more of people who are living in that space. And when I when I bump up my red truck against people who are living down here, they fall off and they don't need my awareness and attention. It is only when I give that my awareness and my attention that I go there too. They don't make me, I allow it. That's the tough love part. I'm allowing it. So if I'm, and we know that, where we are attracts, and so we also get to look at the place in our lives as why is that showing up? And it's just showing up everywhere. Part of it is just showing up everywhere, and is how do we respond? Where is our response from? Or do we just not allow that to be part of our presence? Holy discontent would have us spreading love over frustration. It would have us spreading abundance over lack. It would have us spreading freedom over enslavement and compassion over entitlement. I think compassion over entitlement is something that we could all look at a little bit more. And so maybe you have a little holy discontent going on. Anyone have a little holy discontent in their life? So are you using it to create and birth more good into the world? And how can we help you do that? That's really the question. I know that's what most of you are aiming for, so how do you do that? Now, Ernest Holmes wrote this piece called A Suggested Experiment, and I'm going to read it. There's more to it, but I put part of it on your play sheet for this week as well, if you'd like to do it every day. But here, listen to this paragraph. And then think, he didn't actually write this yesterday. He wrote this in 1942, which was during World War II. He said, during these trying times through which we are passing, it is but natural that we occasionally find ourselves caught in the meshes of mental depression. There are moments when we feel as though the whole world were holding its breath, tense with the expectation of evil tidings. Here is a wonderful opportunity for those of us who believe in spiritual power to try a simple but effective experiment. You may call this psychology, metaphysics, faith, prayer, new thought, or old thought. There is nothing in a name. The only thing that matters is, are we obtaining the desired results, and do we believe that there is a law of mind and spirit which can bring greater peace, comfort, and joy into our experience? If we do have this conviction, and if we have added to our spiritual faith the knowledge that there is a scientific principle of mind which may be consciously applied for any human need, then we are ready to make the experiment. I suppose each of us must do this in our own way, since no two persons are alike. I can merely suggest to you a way which has been effective in my own life during the last few months. I have been making a habit to spend a few moments every day making the following declarations. And these are on your sheet, if you would. I get to answer Barbara Marks Hubbard's phone. That is the best thing ever. It's okay. It happens to the best of us. I just told everybody last time I was going to answer the next one. So All right, so let's just take this in for a moment. You can read along if you like, or just let it flow over you. I am filled with inexhaustible energy of life. I'm filled with limitless enthusiasm for living. There is a deep calm at the center of my being which is undisturbed, which is forever at peace with the universe around me. I know that the power of good will prevail and that there is being worked out now in the minds of people everywhere, a divine pattern of freedom, protection, and cooperation for all people. I know that no thoughts of doubt or depression can enter my consciousness. There is nothing in me that receives them. I live in the buoyancy of spirit. There is no doubt in my consciousness. I have an ever-deepening appreciation for all people, an ever-deepening sense of gratitude for the knowledge that spirit cannot be assailed. I know that good is finally going to come to everyone and that all problems will be solved. Neither fear nor self-pity can operate through me. I am alive with life, with joy, and continuously upheld by a deep, unshakable conviction that there is a presence and a power and an intelligence in the universe which is working out a perfect pattern for human conduct and relationships. I rest in peace, in joy, and in love. I know that this is not only true of myself, it is true of every person who lives. I'd like to ask you to join me in doing that this week. But he goes on to say, it is not at all necessary that everyone should use these identical words, and it's not. But I do believe that we should cover all these principal thoughts which seek to rob us of a sense of happiness and security, and particularly those thoughts that would discourage us and keep us from believing that the victory of truth must always rest on the side of right. If fear is contagious, faith is even more so. If fear is contagious, faith is even more so, because it is more natural to have faith than it is to be afraid. We can never believe that a negative viewpoint has the same power as a positive one, or that evil is equal to good, any more than we can believe that darkness can obliterate light. It is the light that destroys the darkness, and we must see to that in our consciousness that it is filled with light. Fear is a habit of thought and creates a subconscious mental pattern which repeats itself with monotonous regularity until the light of truth displaces fear with faith. Faith, on the other hand, rightly cultivated, will repeat itself with buoyant regularity. Faith, rightly cultivated, will repeat itself with buoyant regularity. Both fear and faith are habits of thought and can be cultivated. So I thought, well, what do we do with this? And what came to me was the word relentless. Let's be relentless with our habits of joy. Let us be relentless in our habits of abundance and creation and creativity. Let us be absolutely, absolutely relentless in our faith, and absolutely, even more so, relentless in holding the course of love. You with me? Who wants prayer? All right, let's go there. Oh, will I take that deep breath as I just allow the pieces and the parts that I heard that struck me, that struck my heart to soak in. As I contemplate my who am I as the red truck. As I sit in the awareness of the impact I have on all that is around me. As I sit in the awareness of the impact of all that is around you in every moment, then I know that our coming together every week, rises us all up. I know that was an incorrect sentence, but it does. It rises all of us into the course of love. And we hold steady the course. We hold true the course. We hold our faith and our trust and our hope and our beingness in the course of love. And so today I wrap my arms around any and all who are feeling sadness, disconnection of any kind, heartbreak, whatever it is, that the prayer that you hold right now from your seat, that I know absolutely that the action of Spirit is moving upon it, that the action of compassion is holding you absolutely dear. I know that as those of us who are feeling energized and ready to go and ready to tackle and ready to be part of the solution, part of moving this world into a place that works for everyone. I know that we are supported and supplied and cared for in all that we need while we hold the course and we take action gently, kindly, compassionately from the place of love. I know this is true in every moment of every day. I know that all of our prayers are moved upon right here and right now. I give thanks. I give thanks for this teaching. I give thanks for this opportunity. I give thanks for this coming together. I give thanks for the beauty of this amazing place. I give thanks for art and music and people who care and share and give so much here and everywhere. I know absolutely that the course of love is our destination, and that it's all going to be okay, and that this too shall pass. And if any of these words speak to you, please join me in saying, and so it is. Amen.